Chris Rears here. Hi, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Lots of questions to ask you, because you're quite a sort of a private pop star, aren't you? I mean, you don't...
Well, I'm not a pop star, that's...
Well, all right.
That's the trouble.
He said aggressively. Well, you're in the charts.
That'll do.
I am,
number 18 at the moment.
Well, this is the trouble I have. You know, I love music.
Yeah.
None of my idols were rock stars. We're all musicians and writers.
Yeah.
And when you come to bring an album out, like, say, a writer brings a book out, we have this problem of how we're going to let people know that it's there.
Yeah.
And seeing as I don't do the usual things that rock star show business people do, the record company has to get together and get their heads together. And somebody jokingly had said...
Go on this morning.
I never know what I'm doing here, because I watched it. This is on the television in my kitchen.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, what on earth am I doing sat on here? Because I never relate the writing of music to actually myself being on television, you know.
Well, I've never seen you on a chat show. I've never seen you. Well, this isn't a chat show.
I do normally avoid them as much as I can.
You've been forced into this one. Why do you hate it so much, the whole publicity machine?
The publicity machine in England is geared towards show business. It's not geared to things like what type of guitar do I play, what type of music do I write, the intricacies of the lyrics and things like that. The show business in England is very, very now zap, zap, zap. Give us a couple of things about, you know, where do you live, and isn't it fantastic? And it's all about this big myth about everything being fantastic.
I know...
I'm too old, unfortunately. I know better that it isn't all fantastic.
Well, reading notes about you, I mean, way back when the career was kind of, you know, it was stopping and starting, wasn't it? It wasn't really kind of going too well. And your record company got an airbrushed picture of you. I mean, you had to look down into the camera, and you say that they brushed out bags under your eyes, and they made you look about 10 years younger, and you felt like a freak.
I didn't.
And you wouldn't buy it. You wouldn't go for it.
It's something I didn't bargain for when I actually picked up the guitar. I was 22 when I picked up the guitar.
That's late,
and decided that I was going to be a musician.
Yeah.
I never decided I was going to be a rock star.
Yeah, yeah. How would you describe your music? I mean, I heard Road to Hell, which I think is a terrific song, appropriately enough in the car. And it struck me as being sort of mystical and strong and powerful and very sexy and all the rest of it. And actually, you wrote it because you got stuck in a traffic jam on the M25.
That's true. It's the intersection between the M25 and the M4.
How mundane. How prosaic.
We had
what life's like. Absolutely. That's what you said.
We'd been there for 3 hours, and we had 6 miles to go. And we were there for another hour and a half. We weren't allowed to get out the car to go for a wee. We had 3 cigarettes left, and we found ourselves sharing a cigarette and complaining about somebody in the back seat who was making the cigarette wet. And so we were putting it out and saving the last bit for later.
Sounds like starving men on a desert island.
It was we had this whole sci-fi sort of atmosphere that night. It was a...
Gridlock is actually quite frightening, isn't it? If you get stuck in a queue...
Gridlock?
Traffic jam.
Oh, I see.
Well, it's an American
That's the
ism.
politically correct way of describing a traffic
No,
jam.
it's the hip way. No, it is... They can be... All right, sorry. Traffic jams can actually get a bit oppressive, can't they? It's not just frustrating. You can think, I'm never going to leave this, you know.
Well, that night it did feel that way, and that's when I started thinking up this thing where there was a ghost of his mother looking in through the screen, you know.
It's brilliant. Great song.
The thing is, I mean, you say you didn't pick up a guitar till you were 22, and at school you wanted... I mean, you worked in your parents' factory, didn't you? Because they're Italian.
Yeah, they had a little ice cream factory, yeah.
Yeah, and at school you wanted to be a journalist.
I did, yeah.
So what...
I still do. I'm still going to be a journalist.
Really?
One day, yeah.
What attracts you to it?
I just like writing. Yeah. I've just learned that that's what I like doing, and songwriting is a form of writing. But, for example, now I'm actually writing and finishing off a film that I've written, and that actually does the same for me. You know, I'll do a scene on a morning instead of writing a song. Otherwise, if I wasn't going to do projects like this in the future, we'd finish up with 200 songs a year, which would be ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, this album, Espresso Logic, that's coming out, is less than a year since the last album. And it's actually now reaching a point where the record company is saying, OK, we'll put another album out, Chris, this autumn. But please don't phone us up after Christmas and say you've got another record. Yeah.
Do they get very frustrated with you because you won't do the usual kind of showbiz round of hype and...
We've learned to live with each other now, that they understand that I just don't have a feel for dressing up and...
Self-promotion.
Selling something that... Really, I find it very boring I've got a lot of friends who are rock stars.
Yeah.
And I don't like their life at all. I think it's quite boring.
So what sort of life do you lead then? I mean, when you're not on tour and you're not in studio, I mean, what do you do? What do you
Well, if I'm not on tour, I'm actually in the studio or I'm writing. I've got a whole bag there full of ideas.
He has, yes.
That I carry around with me, and I'm just doing it all the time. Apart from that,
sorry.
I do a little bit of that.
Oh, we must talk about...
Yes, we must talk about that.
Can I just ask you one more question before that, before we talk about your motor racing? I mean, you're embarrassed by the whole notion of pop stardom and you steer away from it. So how do you feel when you go on stage on a tour and you get the rapturous welcome? I know you can say they're clapping my music, but they are, you know, they're your fans. Does that embarrass you? You know, they throw things at you and cheer and...
I always feel uncomfortable when I walk up onto a stage.
Do you? Really?
And I'm mainly thinking, I'm never looking at the audience, I'm always thinking, is the guitar buzzing tonight? Because I use a very old guitar that doesn't like a lot of the big show lights. Tuning, what's the sound like on stage? Can I hear Max Middleton, the piano player, properly? Can he hear me? Blah, blah, blah. And when it's all over, it's a sense of relief rather than elation.
He's the ultimate reluctant rock star, isn't he? The reluctant rock star.
Because I'm not one.
you certainly aren't with that attitude. Brilliant.
Do I look like one?
No, but come on, let's... shaking heads.
To be honest, on your video you do.
On your video you do, yeah.
Well, you do your best to just go as far as you need to go.
Yeah.
To sell the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're great. I think you're really great.
I think you're a right miserable old so-and-so at the record company.
I'm not actually miserable, you know. I mean, I've had 2 years of that as well. Miserable Chris. I'm not even miserable. It's just
It's nothing.
I don't want to be a rock star.
Well, you did want to be a racing driver, and you still keep that up. What are you doing with Nigel Mansell at the weekend?
Well, this was the only way we could think of letting people know that Chris Rea had a new record out. They all sat round and somebody jokingly said, it's a shame it's not motor racing, because we can get him to do anything, because he's always in the pits and paddocks of motor racing circuits. And someone thought it would be a good idea to get a touring car and put all over the car that Chris Rea's new album is called Espresso Logic.
Right.
And then the subsequent footage, for example, you now have something to talk to me about.
Yeah, well, all right. And
So
this is on...
it was almost a desperate idea, really.
Well, I hope you're all right. Can you drive? You all right?
I've got an
turn the speed
international
on?
licence, but because I've been doing it for about 4 years. But I'm definitely... It's going to be interesting to see the difference. Yeah.
What you
and
be
there will
driving?
be a difference.
What are you going to be driving against Nigel Mansell?
I'm driving a BMW, which I only found out yesterday is left-hand drive, and I'm not looking forward to that at all.
You don't even... I mean, although you like Nigel Mansell and everything, you don't even like the lifestyle he leads either, the publicity and the glitz.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I really don't. I've often been at circuits for testing, where normally they just go on. It's normally circuit testing is very quiet and there's not many people there. And that's when I prefer to be there.
That.
And you actually find out more about what's happening.
But the Grand Prix...
And the Grand Prix I tend to leave alone, watch it on the TV anyway.
Yeah.
But even on sort of quiet testing days, when Mansell was in Formula One, there was a queue of... I mean, then there was a queue of rock stars and film stars to see Nigel Mansell.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'm out the back making the tea anyway.
Well, where should people not come to see you on the weekend? I mean, where would you rather they didn't go?
Well, the weekend's different, you see, because I don't mind making a fool of myself.
Well, where is it? Just tell us, because we're out of time.
It's at Donington.
At Donington, on Sunday, is it?
On Sunday
What
afternoon,
time?
Yeah. I haven't got a clue.
All right. So don't go, all right? Keep well away from Donington on
He'll be
Sunday, because he
very
doesn't want to see
upset.
you. He'll just be embarrassed.
I tell you what, I think I'd put up with a lot to have that beautiful house in Florida that Nigel Mansell's got.
Yeah.
Don't you ever fancy that kind of style?
Not at all. Absolutely not. I would hate it.
How refreshing.
What a guy.
Lovely
I love
meeting
him.
you, Chris.
Good to see you, Chris.
We'll be hearing you singing Julia at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Honest.
Okay. Honest. And keep it on in the kitchen.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay. Right, well, after the break, we'll be sorting out the right on from the right